Hello friends, thank you for watching my video. In this video, we will attempt to deploy WordPress on AWS. So the overall goal which we want to achieve in this video would be to, our basic goal is that we want to deploy WordPress on AWS. Now, the couple of steps we'll do. First, we will connect to AWS using a web browser. Once we're done with that, then we will create a new EC2, that's Elastic Computing 2 machine. This we will use Ubuntu. Now, when we are doing this, we will utilize the free tier machines which Amazon is offering us. After that, we will SSH into the machine. Right now, this we can do on Windows. This we can do on Windows operating system and Mac or Linux. Now, since I'm using a Mac machine, of course we'll be using Mac, but I'll share enough instructions so that you can do the same thing on Windows. If you want, I can create another video for Windows as well. Then the fourth thing we'll do, once we have SSH'd into the machine, which is running on EC2, then we will go and install Docker. Then we will go and install Docker Compose on it. Now I have already created a project on GitHub, so we will git clone the yaml file from GitHub, and then we will just run, or rather I should say, we will use the Docker Compose command to launch WordPress. And once that, we will be able to access WordPress using our browser, and then we can just go ahead and we will configure WordPress. All right. So this is the intent. So let's start this. The first thing is that you already need to have an account of AWS. So the account process is very simple. So let's go and log in. So I go to aws.amazon.com. All right. So I'll come to the home page, aws.amazon.com. After that, I'll go to my account. Just keep my mouse on top of it. Then I will click on AWS Management Console. This could take a little time. I hope recording is done. Yes, it is done. All right. Then I will have to log in with my root user ID. So I already have an account created. So I will log in with that user ID and password. Then I will sign in. Now this will take me to the AWS dashboard. And now the machine which I want to use is EC2. Just on the top we have Find Services. Just click here and type EC2. So in the drop down, the list is there. I'll just select virtual servers in the cloud EC2. Click on that. Yada. All right, almost done. Now I already have a machine running. You will notice here. So running instances 1. I'll just click on instances. On the left side we have instances. I will just click on that. All right. I already have a WordPress machine, so let me terminate this machine so that I can create a new one for you. I'm terminating this machine. You don't have to do this step. So now let's say I don't have any machine. So now on the top, I have to click on Launch Instance. There's a button here. Now I will get all the machines and AMIs which Amazon is offering us. We want to use an Ubuntu machine. So on the top here, we have a search for an AMI. So I'll just search for Ubuntu. And I hit enter. Now we'll see a bunch of Ubuntu machines available. Now we want to use the ones which are available for free tier. So I'll just click on free tier only. So here on this side you will notice there's a small checkbox for free tier only. When I click on that, we notice there are 3 of them. You can use any one of them, doesn't make a difference. So in our demonstration here, we'll be using Ubuntu Server version 18. Now I click on the select button here. Now in this list, it will ask me to choose an instance type. So there are various instances available. So you can go and Google up the meaning of these instances, and there are different billing cycles also. But the T2 micro which we have chosen here, this is available free of cost. So it's completely free. For the first 12 months after we have signed up, we'll get 750 hours of this instance each month. So that's a lot. You really can't consume it so easily. Then virtual CPUs, we'll get total 1 GB of RAM. And this is quite good enough for deploying WordPress here. So I'll go for the default option. Now I can go and click on next, and when I do that, it'll take me to configure instance, then it'll take me to add storage, it'll take me to add tags, configure security group. We don't need to configure any of these right now. So I'm just going to bypass or just skip all of them and go to the direct last step directly. I just click on review and launch. So on the bottom here, you see review and launch. I just click on that. This will take me to the review instance launch screen. At this point, when I click on launch, it will ask me to create a key. This is the additional layer of security that I think that AWS guys has provided us. So I'm going to create a new key. Now this I will call as, let's say, WordPress, and I want to do it on Docker. So WordPress Docker. Now when I click on add key pair, if you're running on Windows, it will be generally downloaded to the default folder. However, on Mac, it's prompting me where you want to download. So I, as a good practice, always click on desktop here and create a new folder called keys. I like to save my certificate files in the keys folder. So just click it here. Now this PEM file will be downloaded, and we're done with the downloading part. We will require the PEM file later on. Please remember that we need to save this PEM file. If you lose this PEM file, then you lose access to this machine which we're creating. Now we click on launch instance. When we do that, it's going to initiate the instance. This could take a little time. Now we see that our instance is up and running. So I can click on view instance on the bottom right hand side. I can click on view instances. When I do that, it will take me back to the EC2 dashboard. And now I notice these two instances running. I already have a terminated machine, and then this is the new machine which I'm creating. So let me give a nice logical name to it. So there's a pencil icon here. I click on that. I call it WordPress, which I'm going to run on Docker, though you can give any name, right? Now we notice the machine is running. It is currently initializing, and out here we will notice an IP address has already been assigned to it. All right. So this machine is more or less ready. I just have to go and connect to it and deploy Docker. So the first thing which I've done here, we have connected to the step number 1. We connected to AWS using a web browser. We've also created a new EC2 machine for Ubuntu in the free tier option. Now I want to SSH into the machine. So the commands are very simple, guys. When I click on connect on here, of course I have to highlight the one which I want, and then when I click on connect, this is telling me that I basically have to run 2 commands. One is chmod 400 with the PEM file name, and then I have this entire command already pre-configured for me. Now this is a little tricky if you're working on Windows. So allow me to explain why. Let me open up Excel. All right. So what happens is, when we try to work on SSH, when we try to connect using SSH command basically requires 3 things. One, it requires a private key. Then it requires a username, and then requires the IP address of where I want to connect. Fine. These 3 things I have to provide to the SSH command. Now, on AWS, the file which we have downloaded, the WordPress Docker PEM file which I downloaded, that is basically it's a public key. Now I need to convert this public key into a private key. Now on Mac, if I'm running on Mac or if I'm running on Linux, then the process is very simple. I just have to change the file permission. For that, the command chmod works fine. So this command which is provided here, chmod 400, if I run this command, it will just change the file permission. However, this command chmod and or changing the file permission is not really happening on Microsoft Windows. So for that, we use a utility in case we're running on Windows. For this, we have a utility called puttygen. I will share the links to download puttygen later on. Right now, what happens is, let me show it on Microsoft. Let me show it on Mac first. So I have this command. Just highlight it, copy it from here. Now I have this PEM file which I've saved on my desktop. This is the keys folder. If you go ahead, I notice this is the PEM file here. So I just open this up in a terminal window on my Mac. Right now, if I do ls, I notice that the file is already there. Now all I have to do is just paste that command which I had copied from AWS. Now when I hit enter, I just changed the file permission. It was that simple. However, if you're working, let's say on Windows, then you end up using a tool called puttygen. So since I'm not running on Windows, I really can't give you a demo of it, but I got some screenshots which are very simple to understand, right? So when you launch the puttygen tool, this particular window will be opened up. the one which you see here, the first one, this particular window will be opened. Now you click on the load button, a dialog window will be opened up, and all you have to do is browse to where your file is kept, the PEM file is kept. Now once you click on OK, once you come back to this window, this particular window will be displayed. You don't have to make any changes here. All you have to do is click on Save Private Key. When you click on Save Private Key, it is going to ask you, do you want to save this key without a passphrase? I say yes, I want to save this key without a passphrase, right? And now you can save the file by any name. The extension will be ppk. The extension will be ppk. All right. So the one which we have downloaded from AWS, that is a PEM file. And thanks to PuttyGen, I'm able to make this PEM file into a ppk file. That basically means I'm converting a public key to a private key. Now, all these things are not required if you're working on Macintosh or if you're working on Linux. The process is pretty straightforward. All I had to do was run chmod 400 and I was able to make the public key into a private key. All right, that's the first part. Second part, I need to connect using this command. So let's go and dissect this command a little more in detail. So let me go and paste this command so that, this is the command. So look at it. The first, let me do it again, please. Sorry about that. There it is. All right. The first part is SSH WordPress docker.pem. Now this is the private key. So SSH, and here I'm providing the private key. Right. So using PuttyGen, I have converted this public key into a private key. If I'm on Mac, I can just use the chmod command. Then it is asking you for the Ubuntu. Now Ubuntu is the username, right? So Ubuntu is the username, and then the IP address of the machine. Now this IP address is basically what we have out here, this guy. Alternatively, I can also use a public DNS. So what Amazon offered by default was the public DNS. So if you want, you can use the public DNS, or if you want, you can just use the IP4 version here. Right? So I just copied this guy, and now I'm going to construct this command: private key Ubuntu @ IP address. If you notice, this is basically the same thing as what you are doing with the entire public DNS. Makes sense? The private key in our case happens to be WordPress docker.pem. So you can use either of these commands if you're running on a Mac. But if you're running on a Windows, then SSH is generally not inbuilt. There are options. There are utilities like OpenSSH, by which you can install the SSH command on the command line itself. However, I've got some screenshots for you in which you can use a tool called Putty. So you launch Putty. I'll share the link to download Putty as well. When you launch Putty, this particular window opens up. So here you have to provide these three details. First detail is the IP address, second is the username, and third is the private key. So you go to session. Generally, this is what is selected by default. And out here, you can select the host name or the IP address. So if you want, from AWS, you can either punch in the IP address or the entire host name. Just go ahead and paste it here. Don't make any other changes. Then under connections in data, when you click on it, this particular screen will be displayed. You just go and type Ubuntu username here. All right. So now we provide the username as well. Now within connection, there is SSH. There's a plus icon next to it. When you click on it, this will be expanded. Within SSH, we have auth. Click on auth. Now when you click on auth, on the right side, you will see a button which says browse. We go ahead and click on browse. Then we'll have to go and browse to the ppk file which we had converted from using PuttyGen. And now I click on open. When I click on open, this will open up the terminal, and I am now connecting to the AWS machine. But since I'm on a Mac, I don't have to use PuttyGen. I can just go ahead and type this entire command as it is. Just click on connect. I'll just copy this command. I need to be in the folder where the PEM file is kept. So right now I'm already in the folder. We noted the PEM file is here. I'll just go ahead and paste it. Now, when I do this, a couple of things are going to happen. It's going to go and see that I don't really have a certificate for this particular host, not a known host. So it's going to ask me, do you want to add this? I'll say yes, please go ahead and ask. So if you're running on a Mac, it's going to be within the command line itself, within the terminal itself. However, if you're working on Windows, a separate pop-up will be displayed. You have to go and select the appropriate option to add the certificate. Now I'm going to click on OK. Hit enter. It's connecting. It said that the authenticity of this host cannot be established. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? I say yes. Please go ahead and continue. Connecting. Now it added the host to my list, added this machine as well as my known host. So now I'm currently connected on my EC2. So this is the second part. This is what we have done on step number 3. Now I'm going to install Docker here. However, it's a good practice that whenever we go and install anything, or rather whenever we have a new machine, it always makes sense to update the Ubuntu repos, right? So the command to do so is sudo apt update. Oops, sorry, there's a typing mistake, my bad. Apt update. Now when I hit enter, it is going to update the Ubuntu repositories, right? This just takes a few seconds, guys. Since you're running on AWS, the internet is very fast, thanks to AWS, guys. And now within a few seconds, we have just updated the repository. We just updated the repository. Now we will go ahead and install Docker. So the command to install Docker, is sudo apt install docker.io. Okay, that's the command. So I'll just go and type this here, sudo apt install docker.io. Hit enter. It says that yes, do you want to perform this operation? 319 MB of space will be used. I say yes, go ahead. So I type in yes and hit enter, and now Docker is being installed here. All right, this will just take about half a minute, maybe a minute, not more than that. Very fast operation. All right, almost done, almost done. You have to forgive me, guys. This is not something I do very frequently. So this is literally my first video on YouTube. So forgive me if I make mistakes. All right. So once we've installed Docker, now I want to install Docker Compose. So the command is sudo apt install docker-compose. One thing you need to be careful that you can't really do a copy paste on this terminal window. If you press a Control-C, chances are you will kill this terminal window. So just it's better that you type it. The command is sudo apt install docker-compose. Oh, again I made a mistake. Compose. There you go. Hit enter. Oh, again I made a mistake. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna fix this now. All right. So here we are. Docker-compose. There you go. All right. You're saying is you'll end up using 26 MB of space. I said go ahead, no problem. So now it's installing the Docker Compose command. All right, very fast operation. Almost done. All right. So what we have done, we have installed Docker Compose as well. Now on GitHub, I already have a project made. So I'm going to open up GitHub now, show it to you. I'll share the link with it. So just go to GitHub. Excuse me. This is the project. I'll share this link. I'll share this link as part of the summary of what we have in YouTube. Right. So what I want to do, I want to open this repository in my browser. So I've already opened it. I've already opened this guy. Now, this is the file where my entire instructions are kept. So this one is a multi-line YML file. So what I'm doing, I'm using a WordPress image. The version number is 4.9.5. Similarly, I'm using MySQL version 5.7. If you wanted, you can use the latest version of WordPress, so you don't have to mention this version number here. This will always pull the latest version of WordPress. Similarly, if you don't mention this 5.7 : then this will also pull the latest version. Now, I'm not an expert on WordPress, guys, but what I observed that WordPress does not really agree with the latest version of MySQL. So when I last experimented with this guy, I noticed that MySQL 5.7 agrees with WordPress. Hence, I've chosen 5.7. Now, it doesn't really make a difference which WordPress version you use, as long as it's good, latest. So I think the latest is 5.3 or 5.4. However, I am using a little older version. The reason for which I'm creating this video is basically so that we can perform a little training using a very popular testing tool called Selenium. So for that, the script has been designed in a little older version of WordPress. But even if you wanted, you can use a latest version. It doesn't really make a difference. All right. So we're basically using two. We're using WordPress 4.9.5 and MySQL 5.7. The rest are configuration steps on how the machine should be configured. So this is the YAML file which I'm going to use. Now, simple. I can pull the images first, and then I can run the YAML file, or I can run the YAML file. The YAML file itself will pull the images. If I run the YAML file directly, then yes, the process would take a little time, and in case something fails, we'll not really come to know. It becomes a little difficult to debug and troubleshoot. So what I'll do, I'll just pull the image manually first without using the YAML file, so I understand the process. So the first part I'm doing, I'm pulling this WordPress 4.9.5. All right. So the command is sudo docker. Docker pull WordPress and the version number. The version number which we're using is 4.9.5. So just punch in 4.9.5 and hit enter. So this will pull the WordPress image onto my Docker on Ubuntu, which is running on AWS. All right, very fast process. Had I been doing this on a local machine, the process would have taken a little time. So hence I'm doing it on AWS. All right. So now I have this image. To see whether the image is there or not, I can just say Docker. Docker images. All right. So I noticed that I have indeed pulled a WordPress image here. I've already pulled it. Second image which we need is the MySQL image, version 5.7. So I'll repeat the command, sudo docker pull MySQL, and the version which I want is 5.7. Hit enter. All right. So it's now pulling the MySQL image as well. Right? Just takes a minute. Very fast process. All right. So now, if you go, we can see. If you go, we can see that it's indeed pulled both the images. I can command sudo docker images, and I can see that both these images are there. Right? Now, I need this YAML file on my Ubuntu. Right now, it's currently on GitHub. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clone this onto my Ubuntu. So I'll just copy this code. The command is git clone, and then the entire URL which I've pasted, which I've copied from GitHub. Now, I don't have to install Git because Git is already pre-installed in Ubuntu. Now, when I hit enter, it will create a clone of this WordPress repository. So now if I say ls, I will notice it's created a folder called WordPress on Docker. I can go inside that folder and I say, sorry, case sensitive. All right. Now when I see this, I'll see that a bunch of files, stack.yml file is there. This is what we have done. I have cloned the YAML file from GitHub onto my Git. Now within this folder where the YAML file is kept, I have to run the docker compose command. So I have already provided the command here. The command is docker compose. The command is docker compose -f stack.yml up. I'll just copy this guy, come back here, say sudo, right click, paste. Now when I hit enter, it is going to create a network, it's going to create some volumes, it's going to deploy, rather going to create containers in the language of Docker, and it's going to make my MySQL and WordPress up and ready. All right, it's creating a network with volumes, and now it just takes another 15-20 seconds, and everything will be hunky-dory. All right. Almost done. Okay. All right. Now the good part is WordPress is ready. Now all I need to do is access it from this IP address. So please understand, if I take this IP address, punch it here, it should work. Now, a couple of things which I've changed here. First, this is not a website that's running on port 80. You will notice I've done some port mapping in which I've said that instead of using Docker port, instead of the WordPress port 80, please use the machine port 8080. So here I'll have to use :8080. So this is the new IP address. If I hit enter, conceptually this should open up WordPress. However, there's another issue. What AWS has done, AWS has provided a security group because of which it has restricted access to all the ports by default. So I want to open that port. So what I'll do, I will select this image and scroll all the way to the right side. Just scroll all the way to the right side and you will see security groups. So right now you will see launch wizard. If you're doing this for the first time, or rather if this is a new AWS machine for you, you will notice Launch Wizard 1. But since I've been using it for a while, I have 27 launch wizards. I click on this guy. This will take me to this window where I can configure these rules. I click on inbound rules. I notice that only the SSH port is opened up. That is the reason we were able to do SSH. But now we want to open up port 8080. So click on inbound rules. Click on this button called add rules. These are different ports which we can open up. In our example, we just want to access port 8080. So I've typed in port 80 in the port range. Here, I want to access from everywhere. So I can just type in 0.0.0.0/0. You can also just select the drop down and select one of them. Now, when I click on save rules, it is creating a rule so that port 8080 is exposed and anybody can access it. So now let's understand what we have done. We have deployed Docker Compose. Here we open the port on AWS for 8080. On the port on AWS for 8080. That's the first thing we did. Of course, I take the IP address and just mention that 8080 after that. I got the IP address, my friends, from the AWS windows. So right now we are here. Just click on the first one, and this is the IP address which we have. Of course, for you the IP address will be different. So just copy this, come to the browser, paste it, :8080, hit enter, and if everything is working fine, this took me to WordPress. Now, since I'm launching it for the first time, I click on English, continue. The reason why I'm creating this is basically training for CSC. So CSC space blog, username I'll keep user, password you can keep anything. I like to use Bitnami. So this is a very weak password. I say confirm user weak password. Email I can punch in anything, admin@admin.com. I don't need to do anything for search engine visibility. Now I click on install WordPress. And there we are. WordPress is up and ready. I can click on login. Come on, don't die on me. And there we are. So user, Bitnami, the password which I have chosen, Bitnami. Click on login, and we are logged in to WordPress admin panel, the dashboard. All right. If you want to see a blog, go here, right click, and rest. You can use this WordPress for development and testing purposes. All right. I hope you like this video. In case I made any mistakes, please forgive me. Please post a comment for people who are attending my CSC training. They can contact me on WhatsApp or email also. For everybody else who's interested, please post a comment. If there's any way I can improve this video, I would love to do so. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.